if we want to do attendance, I'll start. Julie Donham,
Paul Ash,
Yes.
Jackie Yenna,
Yes.
Mary Morgan,
Here.
Alex Crowley,
Here.
Karen St. John,
Yes.
and Kate Rosenbarger.
Here.
And then I think absent, I'll just name who's absent, is Tracy Gates, who is busy, and Scott Wright, who I think is planning to join us, but we'll see. And I think that's all we're missing. Okay. And then, oh, sorry, Jane Cooper Smith staff.
Mary Allen staff.
And Gloria Colomb is a new staff member as well, representing HAND. Gloria is our new historic program manager in HAND. So welcome, Gloria.
Thank you.
You bet.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us. Has everybody in the packet that Jane sent out, did you have an opportunity to review the minutes from the last meeting?
Yeah, I just did, matter of fact.
Okay. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes? Approve the
So
minutes?
moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Jane, do you want to call roll?
Yeah, we have to do roll call. So, and I'm going in my screen order. Julie Donham,
Yes.
Paul Ash,
Yes.
Jackie Yenna,
Yes.
Mary Morgan,
Yes.
Alex Crowley,
Yep.
Karen St. John,
Yes.
and Kate Rosenbarger.
Yes.
Great.
All right. Thank you very much. Moving along, we will have the financial reports. And Jane, do you want to go over those?
Yeah, I will. And when I made the packet, I apologize. My files zipped up out of order and I didn't catch it. So the first document is the balance sheet, and it says at the top of it, as of August 3rd, 2021. This was what Jeff sent to me for the June statement. So I think we should, it's obviously not the June balance sheet, but I think we should go ahead and jump to the profit and loss statement for June, which is at the back of the packet. So that's the, looks like fourth financial page is the P&L for June 2021. And then we'll go to the July balance sheet, July P&L. Is that okay, Julie?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So this shows what happened in June 2021 and then month year to date through June. So a small amount of business loan interest. That interest comes from not our RRF loans, but our pre-existing Ellery, TAP, whatever loans. So that's a little bit of income. Zone membership fees. These are EZID payments that came in. I believe most of the payments came in late May, some came in June, and then we had, you'll see some stragglers in July as well. On that note, I guess we will eventually see a transfer of a lump sum transfer from zone membership fees to RDC TIF zone participation fee. And as a reminder, the TIF charges an additional 9% on EZIDs, or the RDC charges an additional 9% on EZIDs that are in the TIF. And in the past, we haven't really separated those fees out, but we will be making a payment to the RDC for the total TIF zone payment. So that will show up there. We haven't paid out any business scholarships. Sorry, June was quiet. We haven't paid out additional grants, Recover Forward grants, Zone Arts grants. We didn't pay out scholarships in June. So we'll see more activity in that for July. And then August, I'm working on our payments for scholarships. So there'll be more activity in August for that too. Any questions about this document? Okay, so then I'll jump to July balance sheet. So as of July 31st, again, this negative balance, it's just a sweep account. So that was just a snapshot of what was happening at that moment. We were getting ready to pay a fee, or pay an expense. So that was going through at that time. Money market has 82.36. And that's because that has the lowest rate. We've stopped leaning on that money market account. The savings account has just over $1.7 million in it. And then with the negative in the checking, that takes the total First Financial cash holdings to $1,709,800 and almost $69. And then German American, IU Credit Union, People's State Bank are holding steady. These are up to date. If you remember, we receive quarterly statements for these. So those are current balances, I guess. Total cash and cash equivalents of $2,232,056.18. And then other assets shows our notes receivable, which contains our rapid response, COVID response loans, as well as our pre-existing loans. Just a quick trick for telling those apart is that the pre-existing ones have kind of uneven amounts and the rapid response ones are even. So that's what's outstanding. So then the total assets, including the notes receivable, $2,562,359.63. Accounts payable is $23,500. I apologize, I'm not sure what that is off the cuff, but it's real and correct. So I think we just had an expense or a grant that's outgoing. That may have been an arts grant from end of last year, but I can answer that for the next meeting. Any questions on the July balance sheet? Okay. I apologize again, these are out of order. It's super obnoxious, but here is the July P&L. So EZ loan program interest, that's a fee that has to do with, it's an EZ fee, but it's for banks that lend in the enterprise zone. And so we had a bank that would have been not very active, but active enough to have a fee. So that's why that's separated from the zone membership fees. Incoming zone membership fee, we just had that July payment. Facade grants that went out, which is the mill and then the farm stock, which we'll discuss in a little bit. So the year-to-date payout is there. We haven't paid out on the overlook yet. They've had a lot going on and I'm not sure exactly why they haven't. They've completed their MOU. They have not submitted their banking information. It does, I drove by there the other day. It doesn't look like they've commenced the work, but I don't know, they're around. So I'm sure we'll get that taken care of eventually. No action in grants, recovered forward grants or zone arts grants. Total expense is just the historic facade and ordinary income minus $4,760.31, interest income of $73.07. Any questions about the July P&L? Okay. Oh, shoot, we've got people in our waiting room. So Julie, I think that's financials for you, if you're
Okay.
satisfied.
So do we need to approve these separately, the June and the July?
I think you can do it with one motion. Larry, is that okay?
That's fine.
The only thing I would ask, Jane, is that you, even if you just mark it out, but clear up that balance sheet to make sure we know what date that is.
Okay,
Do I have a motion to accept the financial reports, to approve the financial reports?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Jane, you want to do the roll call?
we'll do it. Julie Donham,
Yes.
Paul Ash,
Yes.
Jackie Enna,
Yes.
Mary Morgan,
Yes.
Alex Crowley,
Yes.
Karen St. John,
Yes.
Kate Rosenbarger.
Yes.
And then let me just make sure, I know we had several people just join us. Did we have additional, okay, Scott's here. And Scott, I don't think you need to vote to approve the financials since you weren't here for the discussion. And then Jeff Underwood, thanks for joining us. And you missed the part of the party that was for you. Sorry about that. And then I also welcome Mike. I don't know if you say record or record for the farm stop, Rose Hill Farm Stop. So welcome.
Can I just ask a real quick question, just going back, Julie, when you were saying clear up the date, is that which date is that you want to clear it up?
With the balance sheet that she says August 3rd,
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Got it.
it's
Thank
really
you.
June 30th, I think.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
just wanted our records
Yeah.
to be correct.
yeah, thanks.
Yep. Okay. And then Julie, I'm sorry, I'm losing control of the console here. Julie, you had,
Ask that we move unfinished business ahead of new business if we could.
yeah. That's fine with me, if the group is okay with that. So I'll scroll down to, I just made a small memo for this topic. I had some question when processing the payment for the farm stop for their facade grant about the actual allowable amount. So the MOU that we sign with organizations reflects the limit of $10,000, which is normal and has always been the case. And then we add as an exhibit to, or an addendum to that contract, the application which details the funding amount. And I've included both of those documents in this packet. And I just began to question, well, and actually I paid them the max amount because that's how I was reading the contract at that time. And then Farm Stop came back with questions about being overpaid. So it raised the issue of what the correct amount is that they should be paid. And so here I explain kind of the landlord. So the total project cost is $21,605. The landlord paid half of that. And then in their proposal, they requested $5,401.25 for reimbursement, and then they would contribute the $5,401.25 as well. And this is what Gloria's predecessor advised them was the allowable amount. But in reading the grant guidelines, which we updated this year, there's no, and jump in, Larry, if you need to, there's no differentiation between like tenant and building owner. And so I'm reading this as a project grant that may be concerned with the total project amount rather than the individual contribution. So conversely, I'm not sure if this is clear at all. Please, I'll talk and then you guys should ask questions. So this is what they applied for and what you all voted to approve. And basically, this is what I think the max limit would be based on the structure of the grant. but we wouldn't want to actually fund them at this level without board approval, since your discussion was very specifically about this amount. So I just wanted to bring this back to the board to iron out what the correct amount is for the farm stop. I think there are three moving pieces in my understanding. One, it's like, is it project or organization that we're funding? And then I'm losing my train of thought as I'm talking. Yeah, I'll just leave it there. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Julie, do you want to weigh in or?
My understanding is that Farm Stop is who made the application, not the landlord.
Correct.
Okay. My thought is we should not fund Farm Stop over what they put in the project. I just don't see that. And if the landlord chooses not to apply,
I agree with Julie. I don't think we need to pay more than what the farm stop itself is paying.
Yeah, I agree with that too. It's, I mean, errors happen. It's understandable how the amount got misread, but I think we need to stick with what we approved.
Mm-hmm.
I also, pardon me, I also agree. And I think that with respect to the contract that was signed, I'm not sure if they're asking for additional resources. I mean, maybe if they're not, then, the contract, they signed up for half that amount. So I think that's already been.
Yeah, and to be clear, they raised this issue because I misfired the payment because I was reading the contract differently. So, they weren't really trying to come back for more, but it definitely raised the question of which is the correct allowable amount. And I wanted to make sure that they were given the correct advice when they were processing their application. And then it's nice that Gloria is here because we will have more of these facade grants come up. And so we want to make sure that we make the correct recommendations.
Who is the landlord?
Mike, can you tell us who the landlord is?
Yeah, so it's 902 Kirkwood LLC, which is owned by Paul Pruitt, and I think his wife, May.
Thanks. Okay.
so Jane, you can get that corrected then?
Yep, I can correct that. And there's no action that's required on the part of the board if they're not changing the funding amount. You would only require a vote if you were increasing the amount. So,
Okay. All right. Is there any more unfinished business?
I don't think so. Thanks, Mike, for joining us. Appreciate
You
the
bet.
time.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thanks
I'll
everyone.
follow up.
Appreciate
Yeah.
it. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
And actually, Julie, we skipped the director's report. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, I did. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I don't have a ton of stuff for today. I just wanted to say that I apologize for the late circulation of materials. It's just, yeah, no excuse, just apology. Thanks for letting us have a break in July. That was very welcome after enduring kind of a crazy year. EZIT update, I sort of touched on this, that we'll have some the RDC payments will shift. And then I wanted to report that we have a new EZID coming in from Catalent. So that's great. That'll be an additional layer of personal property. I don't have the total value of that. Working with the auditor's office to make sure we have the math correct on that before they send out their payments. So I'll follow up on that.
And that will just start its first 10 years, correct?
Right. Yeah. So that's good news. And I don't know if you guys remember that when I started, I really was like, let's pound the pavement and try to get more personal property EZITs because I think that's where the bulk of the growth is for us. And we've been trying. I think it's just hard. It's difficult to convince small businesses of the benefit because the paperwork is a little bit cumbersome. And then there just hasn't been a ton of growth in businesses the size of Catalent, outside of Catalent. But the BEDC, the Bloomington Economic Development Corp, has really been marketing. They've worked to learn more about the BUEA programming, and they've been working to market that as a potential benefit for companies that are relocating in the enterprise zone. So it's nice to have those teammates. I don't think that had been happening in the past. I don't think BEDC was super aware in the past of the BUEA. So yeah, I think that's a good news item. Another good news item, we haven't had new RRF payoffs for the BUEA loans, but we have had several full payoffs in the last month for the food and beverage side of the RRF program. I just wanted to share that news as what I see as an economic indicator. I think that's positive information coming from our businesses when they have the ability to send us a $50,000 check. So I'm in the process of interviewing SPIA fellows, and we can talk about that more on the intern agenda item. And I think that's it for me.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
So I guess we're on to new business now.
Yeah, so here's my little intern memo. I wanted to approach the board, and I feel neutral about this, but I did want to ask for additional support. So I think you guys should just have the discussion and do what you see as fit. But because we have so substantially increased our level of activity and level of funding, I wanted to request that we use a portion of the $12,500 operational support line to pay for a dedicated BUEA intern. So in the past, we have had a shared intern from the SPIA O'Neill Service Corps, and that person supports the BUEA and supports ESD. And there are additional fellows, O'Neill fellows in ESD doing other stuff too, but BUEA has shared that person. But there's just a heavier workload and more administrative work, more promotional work to be done, given the increased programming. And then also, I think, just increased attention to that programming a little. We started to get a foothold with the work that Brittany was doing. And I just think that it will really facilitate some growth and better program recruitment if we can have a dedicated person. And then additionally, I think it will be easier on the recipient end for the scholarship people. I think that it's right now a pretty cumbersome process for folks to get paid. And I'd like to have this intern really dedicated to moving that stuff along. So that said, this would add 12 to 15 hours per week of support for the BUEA. I calculated that at the at $14.01, which would be, it's not the current living wage, but I think that's what it's going to be increased to. So I set that as like a ceiling. I calculated the payroll taxes with HR. And so the max outlay would be $3,847.95. I think it would, realistically, it'll come in a little bit less than that. So I would like to recommend that we hire through the city's HR processes, if that's what legal and HR advises, an intern that the BUEA will pay for in addition to their admin fee. And this person would be dedicated to the BUEA. And then for spring 2022, I would like to include, when we have our budget conversation, I think we should fold that into a budget line, but we can have that conversation later. Right now, I'm just asking for support for fall 2021. I think with that, I'll turn it over to you all, and please fire away with questions if you have them. Mary?
Thanks. So can you give a little bit more description? Your memo talks about increased activity of the BUEA. Can you, what specific programs would you need support on from the intern?
Oh, yeah. Well, so in pre-COVID, our budget, annual budgets were about $240,000, including our programs. And in April of 2020, you all remember we added $500,000 to that budget. So of that budget, 12,500 was operational support. So that's just admin support. The remaining funding was entirely devoted to programming, and that included the Rapid Response Loan Fund, which has had a very heavy administrative burden. I don't know if burden's the right word because it's exciting work that I'm happy to do, but it has a lot of paper associated with it, especially because we've amended the terms to that program. And so that's one example. We increased we added a couple different programs that we haven't been able to implement yet, including the mill day passes for zone residents and businesses. That's a bandwidth question where I think having an extra pair of hands will be able to get that. I've got promo photos and passes ready to go. I just need someone to help me get it out the door. And then additionally, there's the budget line that we added for DEI training. That is a program that didn't exist before. It's not completely formed. And we need to get it out the door and make sure people can use those assets during this year, which we budgeted them for. So, you know, I think there's all of that in addition to the best practices that we should be doing with social media. So in 2018, we hired a consultant to develop a communication strategy and do a rebrand for us. And we began implementing that with Brittany, but she was split between multiple projects. So she was trying to do that while also working on the zone map project, and then also working on an opportunity zone, other separate long-term research projects for ESD. And so I think, you know, there's just a lot of drag created by I like the increased needs of the organization. Does that get at it? I'm sort of babbling.
Yeah. Is there going to be any budget request by ESD for the city budget to have more support for your office that you would be able to use?
Well, not for the BUEA, I don't believe, but like we're including administrative overhead and all of the ARPA requests. And Alex, you can chime in on this if you have a more refined answer than I do, but we're not like adding staff members, but we're looking at it as components of the increased programming that's coming out of ESD as well.
Yeah, I mean, Mary, I think it's a good question and one that we're dealing with, you know, with some of these substantial potential funding opportunities that exists outside of the BUEA, whether it's ARPA or READY or, you know, even Recover Forward, which is kind of an internal allocation. But the city is feeling the same thing as the BUEA is, which is when you amp up a bunch of funding activity, it's very hard to absorb that into fixed resources. And so creating some overhead and creating some extra set of hands to be able to really manage the incremental activity is something that's baked into allocations that are happening in some of these other areas. This would be exactly the same kind of thought process, which is, you know, if you're gonna increase stuff, you really should be thinking about the resources that you need to be able to deliver that with excellence. And I think that's what we're trying to do here.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm in favor of this, first of all. I was just curious. It's $3,800 from the $12,500 that we budgeted in operational support. Is that right? And so how much of that $12,500 have we actually used so far?
Yes, let me answer that question. We've made 2 payments out of that for our subscription to Community Force. So we made one in 2020 and one in 2021. And if you don't mind, I'll just look for that.
Yeah.
It's,
I think too, if we get to a point with Jeff where he could drop our budget in on our profit and loss, we would know like where we stand on things. In terms of, you know, it would just be there right in front of us. We would know of that operational support, how much is left.
yeah. And I apologize. I have
That's okay.
the, and I can share it. Budget committed versus budget. And meant to include that in our packet. And let me see if I can share that. Or I guess I can just tell you the total.
And for everybody's benefit, Community Force is the software platform that is being used to manage the loan, the rapid response loan fund.
So we've spent $390 out of that budget. So we.
Okay. So there's over 12,000 left and it's
Mhm.
the middle of August. Do you anticipate any other large items that are going to come at us the rest? No, I'm seeing you say no.
No, I think the bulk of that funding will be used to pay for the loan servicing for the rapid response funds that go into repayment.
Okay. And do you expect that to, I mean, if we have just over 12,000 left and we take out 3,800, we're like at 8,000 and something and change.
Mhm.
Do you expect the rest of that to exceed that 8,000?
No, I think that will cover, I mean, based on the quotes that I had late 2020, the remainder should cover those loan fees for the BUEA loans with the servicer. Granted, we could go with a different servicer, or I don't know what, but I consulted with a few different companies, and what I'm remembering is that the 12,000 was enough to cover all of the rapid response loans, and so it would definitely cover the BUEA portion.
Okay, so
It's outstanding, and that will begin in 2022.
oh, so that it won't even come out of 2021's 12,500.
Correct.
So it sounds like what you're saying is this allocating 3,800 out of this 12.5 is not going to make us run over budget. Not that we can't decide to go over budget, but at this point, you wouldn't anticipate that this $3,800 would put us in the red. Okay, well, I'm in favor of it. I think $3,800 is a small price to pay for the kind of work we're doing at the dollar levels that we're doing with the volume of loans that are being approved and handled. And I will just say from sitting on that loan approval committee, it seems like 5 years ago, but it was not that long ago when we were rapidly trying to assist businesses in the community. It was a lot of work for that to be put together by staff. And then just the review alone, it was pages and pages of reviewing answers to questions and data. So I completely agree with you that it takes a lot. It's expensive to do good work. So I think $3,800 is not expensive to have to pay for that. That's my opinion.
Yeah, thanks.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I think this sounds wonderful as well. Just wanted though to ask, will we still be splitting the SPIA Service Corps? A fellow as well? Like, will that still be in our?
Yeah.
Will we still be using that person? Okay.
Yeah, I meant to mention that too. So I'm in the process of interviewing fellows this week, and there are some really great and very different candidates, and they have a lot of interesting project ideas that I think could be, single projects that benefit BUEA and, broader city projects, or I think, there are different ideas that could be targeted at BUEA. So we will share them. But I think my idea is that with a dedicated kind of admin social media intern, the SPIA fellow can then focus on more substantial work for us, longer term research for us and for ESD. So, I mean, I think that's actually more of an invitation to the board. I'm happy to come to you with projects or have the intern present project ideas at our next meeting. But I think if you have any ideas off the cuff, I would just invite you to share them. However, unformed they are at this point, share them with me via email if you're interested, if you have anything on your radar that you think might be worth us investigating.
The things that we haven't gotten to that we've talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think the intern is a good idea too. And actually it's a pretty small price to pay for what we're going to get. So.
Yeah, I think so. Well, thanks guys for the support.
Do we need to approve it?
Yeah. Alex, were you going to say something?
Well, I just was going to say that, in ESD, we spend a lot of time and attention trying to make the intern experience as rich for them as possible as well, right? And so there's going to be an effort to fold the resource, even though they'll be focused on BUEA, to fold them into that larger program of intern support that we have as part of, building up the team of interns, getting them all to work together. And I think having interns working from ESD to support BUEA and really kind of work in tandem with this person, I think will help enrich everybody's experience as well.
So we do need a vote if you all wish to advance the cause.
So do we need a motion first?
Yep.
We need a motion to approve the intern for the balance of the year.
I move approval for the allocation of $3,847.95 from the operational support line of our budget to pay for the intern for the fall of 2021.
Second.
All right, and Jane, do you want to do the roll call?
Yep. Julie, Donna,
Yes.
Paul Ash,
Yes.
Jackie Anna,
Yes.
Mary Morgan,
Yes,
Alex Crowley,
Yes.
Karen St. John,
Yes.
and Kate Rosenbarger,
Yes.
and Scott Wright.
Yes.
Thanks. Okay, and then here's our agenda again. I did forget I had one other item on my director's report, if I could file it in.
Okay. Yeah.
I just wanted to extend congratulations to Karen on her extension of her family over the weekend.
Oh, thanks.
I saw wedding photos go by on Facebook, so I wanted to say
Thank you.
congratulations.
No,
Yeah.
thanks. Yeah, thank you very much. That's kind of you. Appreciate that.
That's it for me.
Julie, I think you're muted.
There, sorry. Jane, do you have some more new business?
Oh, I'm sorry. We do have more new business. Sean, I'm sorry, I completely forgot about these two other items. Sean is here with us today. I think this will probably be his last BUEA meeting. And I thought he could check in, and I'm happy to lead it, or you can, Sean, about the strategy for the fall arts grant round of BUEA arts grants.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to. Let's see. Yeah, hi everyone. Can everybody hear me? I'm
Yeah.
running a new operation. Okay, cool. So yeah, it's good to see everyone. This is probably, I mean, I might make it to one more BUEA meeting, but it's been, obviously an honor and privilege to work with you all over the past 5 years. But in terms of very much in line with the conversation that we were just having about the staff interns, both the BAC and the BUEA kind of have a kind of a capacity issue when it comes to grants. And over the years, we've had this natural cycle of the spring grants being led by the Bloomington Arts Commission, and then in the fall having the BUEA grants. This year, because of the Recovering Forward efforts, we thought it'd be best to, once again, like we did at early COVID, which Karen had mentioned earlier, that it felt like 5 years ago, but really it was only, 18 months ago, which is pretty crazy to think about, to combine the pool of applicants into one grant application cycle for this fall. That way, it's less time on the reviewers, it's less time on the applicants themselves. We've sought feedback from a lot of our grantees and emerging grantees, and they kind of have given us feedback that they get kind of overwhelmed by the application process. And so to have a separate BUEA and a separate BAC in the fall just didn't make sense. So basically, we are asking to merge the two programs. We will also, from a staff level, we are tracking, obviously where the BUEA funds will be allocated will be geographically restricted. This is nothing new in terms of grant cycles. I've been a part of various grants that have anonymous donors or a variety of geographic or kind of equity restrictions. So we will be able to, both Jane and either my successor or myself, we'll be able to kind of apply that lens to the BUEA pot of money, which we allocate around, it's 40,000 this year for those zone arts grants. So
to be clear, Sean, you're not making a request today. You're just notifying the board that on the back end, we're handling this a little differently, but the funds are still separated and tracked according to zone impact.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. That's exactly right. We're not asking for more money. It's just more of a staffing concern and a kind of a capacity concern, both for the user and for staff and obviously during this transition. So I probably didn't explain myself too well. So I'm sure many of you have questions and I'm happy to answer any of those.
I don't have any questions. It sounds like a good idea. Sorry that you're leaving.
Yeah, I agree. I followed you, so good job. And we are sorry you're leaving. It was nice of you to come back one more time. And thanks for presenting this information and good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we're super lucky that Sean is able to work part-time during the transition. And I would just add that, we have an offer out for a really exciting candidate and are waiting for that to, become finalized. And we'll look forward to having maybe a new face at our next meeting. We'll have to wait and see what happens. And then I would also append to that description, you know what happens at BUEA Arts Grant time. We need reviewers. So if you're interested in participating in that pretty fun review panel, let me know. Sean, do you want to say anything about the makeup of that panel since it's BUEA and BAC together?
Yeah. So there's obviously no pressure. Historically, the BUEA, I think when the program first started, was very vested and interested and curious. So there was a lot more direct kind of oversight of the program. Now that the program has kind of played its course and kind of been into the kind of ether of the community, it's kind of we have a system, and it's Mary, you've participated in it, Scott has as well. So it's a pretty kind of airtight process in terms of the digital process, since we've gone to this COVID model of reviewing grants. But it will be made up of somewhere between 5 to 7 individuals. Usually it's a good chunk of the Bloomington Arts Commission, which are the experts in the kind of arts and culture field. And then we usually try to cycle in 2 members of the public, usually one that is either a zone resident or a zone business owner. And then the second is kind of somebody that's vested in the arts or somebody that could potentially be recruited for an appointment on the Bloomington Arts Commission or the BUEA, frankly. So it's kind of a recruiting tactic that we use to kind of ensure fresh perspectives so that there isn't institutional bias in our review process. So that's basically a quick rundown. I don't know the kind of pool of applicants we'll get. I assume it will be a pretty kind of standard, we usually get about 30 to 40 applicants, and then we tend to fund maybe about 20 of those is our typical statistics around that.
Thanks.
And Sean, one BUEA board member typically sits on that review panel?
It has historically, or somebody that the BUEA kind of like, not necessarily proxy, but like I said, we try to target either a zone resident or a zone business owner. So if nobody from the board wants to participate, we can kind of seek out directly, that way there is some kind of direct involvement. And then obviously Jane is part of the conversations of funding and staff level. So there's a lot of oversight. I'm not trying to say that there isn't oversight. So that's just a way to I know that you all are volunteers and there's limited time as we get into the fall as well. So.
Well, if somebody has an interest in serving on this, please let Jane know. Thanks, Sean, for everything.
Yeah, or ideas for other community members or zone residents. It is a good opportunity. It's like a low stakes. It's high stakes for the grant recipients, but as far as time commitment is concerned, it's kind of a low stakes way for someone to kind of begin to get involved. So if you have any ideas, please share them. Yeah.
And then we had one more item of new business.
Yeah, so our board vacancy is the last item. Kate had reached out about this and it was on my radar to mention today as well. So I just put it on new business so we could track it a little better. So we still have a vacancy in the position that Margaret left open, which I believe, Larry, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's council appointment, zone resident, political minority.
That's exactly right.
Okay. So Kate, did you have anything specific or did you just want to raise it today?
That's right. Nothing specific, just that I know that's open and it can be a little difficult to fill. So I thought it would be good to put it out there and just let folks know, that you apply and onboard for that.
So we can definitely share that link on our social media. Does the council office do anything to market open board positions?
We really don't. I mean, we don't have an email that goes out and we don't tend to do press releases. So
Well, I personally,
don't know if,
I was going to say, I personally would like to see us really try to cast a wide net and really try to fill this position. I think that Margaret was really good at being that political minority voice. And I don't necessarily think all of the members of this group are on the same page politically, but that role fills a really specific purpose. And I just think it's an essential role in this group. So I guess what I'd like to know is if the board, do you want me to just follow what I believe are some good strategies for a broader recruitment effort than word of mouth? Or do you want me to come back to you with a strategy and get your permission at the next meeting? Can I kind of run with it?
I don't see any reason why we need to give you permission for, that kind of recruitment. And I'll certainly ask around. I think the difficulty is going to be the resident requirement more so than the political affiliation, but.
Yeah, no, Jane, I think that you have good ideas, so.
Yeah, just do it.
Okay.
Just do it. Thank you.
All right. Okay. And I think that was our last formal item today. So I don't know, Julie, we have general discussion left if you want to.
Yeah, does anybody have any other general discussion for the group? I don't think so, Jane. So the next meeting is?
Wednesday, September 8th, high noon. I'll send the link and I'll get the packets to you on Monday next round.
That'll be just right after Labor Day. So that'll be a short week anyway, so.
Yeah, so I'll send them Friday, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for participating today. And don't get too hot out there. I think it's going to be a hot one again today, just like yesterday. So anyway, but thank you very much.
Move to adjourn.
Oh,
Thanks, Jackie.
thanks, Jackie.
Bye.
Bye.